welcome to the Knitting by the Sea podcast. My name is Lisa and I am Saratoga Knitting on Instagram and on Ravelry, and I welcome you to my home. I live in Marblehead, Massachusetts, which is just a little bit north of Boston, and I'm very lucky to be able to live in a very old house. This house was built in 1700 and then it was transitioned into a residence, and I live very close to the harbor here in Marblehead. And I feel very lucky to do so. So welcome. We will do several things today. We will do some finished objects. We will do some works in progress. And I'm going to talk about a couple of different tips and techniques that I have for you today. And then we'll do some chatter at the end. So let's get started. Objects. I have 3 to show you today. 2 pairs of socks and a cowl. I know I'm back kind of quick from the last time I podcast, but if you watched my last episode, you will know from the end chatter that I really need some time to relax, and I really find doing these videos is very relaxing for me, and I really enjoy it. So I'm going to try to do it consciously a little bit more often. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm here this morning. It's actually the 4th of July weekend, so you might hear some drums in the background. We have music up here at Crocker Park, but I also know that the regiment is out, and they'll be marching around Marblehead. So you might hear some some drumming in the background. I'm not sure. We'll see how that happens. But anyway, my first pair of socks are called the Catherine Moreland socks, and they are by Emma of Tiny Desk Knitting. And Emma, at the beginning of the year, set herself a goal of designing 12 socks for the year, in which she has already started, obviously, and she's been doing them, and she is I think she's knitting them in hand spun and then also in commercial yarn, so you get a feel for what they look like in each one. She hasn't released any of them yet. I'll let you know when they become released and available out on Ravelry. But I am one of her test knitters, and I'm just having a great time. It's really fun because each month I get an email in my inbox from Emma saying, "Here's the next pair of socks, so go ahead." And there's no pressure from her. We don't have to do them if we don't want to do a particular pair of socks. But I've really been enjoying it and looking forward to getting them each time. They are all Jane Austen related, so the names of each of the pairs of socks are one of the characters in a Jane Austen book, so that's kind of fun as well. And she also gives us the option. Really, what she's looking for is the actual pattern to be the stitch pattern to be tested, not necessarily the type of sock. So although she designs most of her socks top down, she's given us the freedom to go ahead and do them toe up, however we want to do them. We can use whatever kind of heel that we want to use, and that's really a lot of fun, certainly for me. So I've been doing them. The next pair, we just got the other pair. You'll see in the newest pair. You'll see that in my whips section. But I have finished the Catherine Moreland socks, and these are really fun. They're not a lace pattern, but it's really more of a texture pattern. And I was just using up some leftover yarn that I had. So here they are. So it's just really a simple texture pattern, but they look really great. They fit really well. They haven't been washed. I have tried them on yet. They haven't been blocked or anything. So I do them toe up. I always do my socks pretty much toe up, and I will use some type of a short roll heel. I think this is a suspended short row heel, but yeah, I just find that the short roll heel fits me better, and it's less fiddly. I know a lot of people find doing toe up socks really kind of fiddly, but for me it's easier to do the toe up socks than have to Kitchener at the end, but to each his own. So whatever works for you is fine, and that's what's really nice about these socks. I do have 2 of them. I have the pair finished, and then I've already begun working on the next one. So pretty excited. So these are the Catherine Moreland socks by Emma Barnaby. I don't know how. I think she was trying to plan to put out the first pair of socks in June, but I don't think she quite got to it. But I think they'll be coming out one at a time. I don't think she's going to wait till the end of the year to bring them all out. So I will certainly let you know, because they've been really a lot of fun. They're textured socks. Some are lace patterns. So it's just really a lot of fun to do them. My second pair is just another pair of the simple Skip Socks, Simple Skip Socks by Adrienne Koo. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. And this is a pattern that I picked up when we were flying to Egypt last year, because I wanted something I really didn't have to think about and I could actually look and see where I was in the pattern and just pick it up. And this was a really great, a really great pattern. I really enjoyed it. And I think I've made two pairs of these socks already. I think this is my third, maybe even my fourth. I don't remember. The yarn I got is really fun yarn on local yarn shop day a couple of weeks back, and I went down to my local yarn shop, which is Marblehead Knits, which is literally right around the corner here, which is fantastic for me. But she had some kind of grab bags of yarn, so she had, I think she had 4 or 5 balls of yarn for $20, which was a bargain. And I found this great yarn, and I got a bag full of it. So I have a couple of colors of this crazy yarn, but it is it's not self-striping, but it transitions as you go through, and you can see, I'm not sure if you can actually see the pattern here very well, but it's just a really easy pattern. And really the reason that I like to do that, I mean, these would look great in just doing them plain vanilla, which you can see on the back. I always just do the back, just plain vanilla, just going, just stockinette stitch on the back of the leg, and of course on the bottom of the foot. But when I'm knitting socks, I like to have a little bit of interest, and so a really simple pattern is perfect for me. I've mentioned in the past that I go into Boston 2 days a week, so if I'm taking the bus, it's a really great project to take on there, and just pull out and get 20 minutes of knitting in, and then they're also obviously very great to knit on at lunchtime. So I have the 2 of these, and you can see I am not picky about where I start and where I end on yarn like this. It really does not matter to me at all. So you can see they look very different because I started at different points in the yarn ball. But really, that really doesn't bother me whatsoever. Yeah, it just doesn't bother me at all. I am not fussed about that, and so I just go ahead and when I finish one sock, I just start the yarn and pull it up and do it in the whatever color comes up next. And as I had said, I have a couple of colors of this, and the socks I'll be showing you later are using another ball of this crazy yarn, which is really fantastic, and it's a completely different color scheme. So I really like this. I'm really enjoying it. It's interesting yarn because I think it is only a single ply, so it acts a little bit differently. It's not as plump as regular sock yarn would be, but I'm all about trying some new things. So I'm really just enjoying this completely. So now I can put these in my drawer for the fall. I'm not going to be putting them on now, but for the fall. So I'm really looking forward to being able to wear these. My third project that I finished is called the Owl Cowl, and this is by Kay Jones. And I'm pretty sure, I should have looked before, but I'm pretty sure Kay put this out as a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's just so sweet. I think she was making one for her daughter, Bryony, and it is really just a super pretty cowl. This is it right here. The yellow is a little lighter. It's a little creamier yellow than it shows on this screen. This yellow skein I had picked it up for a different project, and I just never made that project, and so it's kind of been sitting in my stash for a while. I didn't really know what to do with it, and then I had this other beautiful skein of yarn from Spindrift Yarns out in Colorado, and it is just a lovely variegated skein of yarn. And again, I wanted to use this. I didn't necessarily want to use this in socks. I think this was also a single ply, so it wouldn't be as durable in a pair of socks, although of course I just showed you a single ply pair of socks that I was going to do. But I think there's nylon in that sock yarn. In this, there is no nylon in this. This is just merino, and it is just beautiful. But again, I didn't want to put it in a pair of socks, so I wanted to do something different. And so I just decided, I was like looking through my stash, I'm like, well, maybe these 2 colors would go well together, and they really did. And this is a pretty, I don't know whether I have it upside down or downside up, but no, I think it's this way. I can't really tell. But anyway, so these have these little, just the little yarn overs, and it just makes almost looks like a little owl face, which is, so that's why Kay, I think, had called this the Owl Cowl. They're really simple. very, very simple transitions here, and it just gives you some interest between the stripes, and it's nice because you only have one, you have one row of that lace pattern, and then a row of pearls, and then you're doing, you're doing stockinette for a number of rows after that. And you could make this as long as you wanted to. I just basically did it until I ran out of the yellow yarn, but it's super pretty. This will be just a really pretty cowl to throw on over a turtleneck in the fall and the winter. So yeah. So those are my 3 finished objects. So we can move on to some works in progress. In progress. I have 3 to show you. Sometimes I have more than that, but I think this time I actually think I only have 3. I haven't done any spinning since the last time I spoke to you, so maybe next time I'll have some spinning to show you, but I haven't really done any yet. The first one to show you is the vanilla sweater, and this is a pattern that is available through the Woolly Thistle, Corinne, and I love Corinne. The Woolly Thistle is just a great online yarn shop. She brings in all kinds of yarn from, I think she started out bringing in yarn from England, and then she's branched out and bringing in yarn from all over Europe now, which is really great because it just saves us the shipping costs. A lot of times, if here in the United States, if you're ordering online from overseas, it really is very prohibitive with the shipping cost. But Corinne brings in all this beautiful, beautiful yarns, and they are just lovely. So the first pattern that the pattern that I'm doing is a vanilla sweater. I always like to have at least one sweater on the go, and so this is my sweater for right now, which is really nice. It's in a fairly lightweight yarn. It's a fingering weight yarn, and let me see if I do have the... No, of course I don't have it, but I think I showed it the last time. So it's a beautiful gray color, and it's really designed to be sock yarn, but it's pretty durable, but still light. And the vanilla sweater is just it's basically what it says. It's a vanilla sweater pattern. You can do with it what you want. You can make it plain. You could make it striped. You could do all kinds of things. She has a version that you can hold some mohair with it and to kind of make it a little bit more fuzzy. And really, you can do just a split hem, which I'm doing. You could do a plain hem. You could do your sleeves short. You could do them any length that you want. I think I may, depending upon the yarn, I'm probably thinking of maybe doing them 3/4. I might do them all the way, but I might do a 3/4 length on these. And it really just is a basic sweater. I know people who have done one in every color, or just have 5 or 6 of these and just pull them out of their wardrobe. And I think that's really great. So here it is here. So it's this beautiful gray color. And again, you actually start casting on and work up and do the collar, which is really quite lovely. And I've gone down and finished the body. I just finished the body this week, and it's curling up because it needs to be blocked. But it has a little bit of a split hem on the side. Like I said, you could do whatever you wanted to, but I did choose to do the split hem. And then it has a seed stitch all around the bottom edge. So that's a little bit different. I liked that as well. Rather than a ribbing, it has a seed stitch. But that'll flatten out once I block this. And then I have just started on the sleeve, on the first sleeve. Again, so I'm over here on the first sleeve, which is great. And I have the second sleeve to do, and then I will be finished. And of course, as you know, sleeves go nice and, oh, got the yarn all tangled up here. But sleeves go, I find sleeves go pretty fast. I don't really worry about getting caught on Sleeve Island. They go pretty fast for me. It's like kind of like just going around and around and doing a sock. So I will do this. I just have this one ball left. This is going to be more than enough to do 2 sleeves. And again, it was a basic yarn, so if I needed it, I could always go and get more. I just got it down here at Marblehead Knit, so if I needed more, I could do that too. But I'm really enjoying this. This is it's just kind of a nice palette cleanser to do a sweater without any patterning in it, or there's no color work in this. But I'll use this quite a bit. I'll wear this. I'll just be able to pull this out if I don't even want to think about what I'm going to wear. One day in the winter, and I'll just pull this out and throw this on. So I'm pretty pleased with this, and I could definitely see making lots more of these as well. So it's a great pattern, and I think when I got the pattern, it came with both. It came with the fluffy version of it as well. So there were really two patterns for the price of one. So that was a real bargain as well. So super enjoying this one, and it won't be too much longer until I'm done with it. Most of these it takes me. That's what I like. That really I had finished the body I think last week, and what it does, it just takes me a little bit of time to actually get to the sleeves, because you need to pay attention, because you've got the sleeves on a holder or on a piece of yarn. You can't just kind of whip that out and start doing it, and you want to make sure you're catching all the stitches and making sure that they are lined up correctly on your needle, and so that they're not twisted. And then you need to pick up some underarm stitches and make sure you put the beginning of row marker in there. So you need 20 minutes, half an hour to kind of just be quiet and pick up all the stitches that you need correctly. But once I've done that, then I'm ready to go. So that first sleeve will be done pretty quickly. What's my second? So I have mentioned in my previous episodes that I am in the process of making hot water bottle covers for everyone for Christmas. I know the Bakery Bears, Kay and Dan, have just opened up a Christmas in July thread on Ravelry that, the plan is to get a head start on your Christmas gift. So I can easily add these projects right into it. So I have done 3. So I am in the process of doing them. I think I need to do 7 of them, and we don't really exchange Christmas gifts. I mean, we do here in the house, but with my in-laws and my brother and sister-in-law, we don't really exchange gifts, but I like to usually do hats or something like that, but I wait too long. So I thought about this year, and I'm like, you know what, this will be a good kind of a surprise present for everyone. I found the pattern. It's just called the Hot Water Bottle Cover by Emily Boldwan. Yeah, I'll link it in the notes. And it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's great. I have done I've completed 3 of them so far, and they all go pretty quickly. I have a lot of acrylic yarn left over. I've made I had a kind of a blanket on the go. I've made a little pullover sweater for a baby. And so I have some acrylic yarn left over, and so I'm like, I'm going to use that up, because then these can just be thrown in the wash. They're not going to there's no problem if they get wet for some reason, if they've been filling them up. So I have 3 of them, and I'm on my 4th. So I'll just refresh your memory. So here's the first one, and I bought a couple of bottles already, so I could just make sure that it worked in there. So that was 1, and then there's a second one that I did, really super pretty. And I have a third one. I have to purchase more of the bottles, but I have the third one here, which is real pretty. And then I have the 4th one on the go. And this one I really like the colors on this one here. And here is the 4th one. So the pattern is on both sides, and you basically are just casting on at the bottom and then working up. I mean, you can. This is the pattern worked in the round. She also gives you the option of working them flat too, so you could do the front side and the back side and then seam them up and do it that way. But I'm just a in the round kind of person, so I like to do that. But this is that. So I don't have very much more to go. What I have found is that I usually do 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I do 5 patterns before I do the decreases for the top, and I just pull out some different types of yarn. What I have done for that, the pattern itself is plain. I think she gives you a striped version, but what I've been doing is taking the Alice Starmore's book of Fair Isle Knitting, which I have here, and I have just been pulling out the motifs from. This is a great book to have as well, because it just has all kinds of Fair Isle motifs, and you can pull this out and do them. So I have been looking at the 7-row Peries. So there's a bunch of them in here. So I've been looking at the 7-row Peries and just choosing one for each hot water bottle. So I'm, you know, I'm picking a new pattern each time. And so it's something a little bit different. I'm kind of experimenting with the color. I'm just doing two colors, obviously the background color and then the color of the pattern, which works great. And so these the 7-row repeats are just enough to do whatever it is, do 5 or 6 of those, and then finish up on the top. And it just balances. It just balances well. But this has been a lot of fun because each time I go to do a new one, I'm like, oh, let me pull out my book and see which pattern I'm going to do now. So I have really enjoyed that. So if you don't have any type of, you know, you can find Fair Isle patterns, but this is just a really great resource. This book, I mean, it has you know, sweater patterns in it. It's a little bit dated. It's an older book. I don't remember when it was. Yeah, so 1988. So the patterns are a little bit dated, but the sweater patterns are a little bit dated, but not the Fair Isle patterns themselves. And it just gives you all over patterns. It gives you it gives you different row counts for patterns, large ones, smaller ones, and you can just, you know, you can make your own. You can do your own sweater pattern right from this book. And she gives you a lot of great information about knitting itself, knitting Fair Isle, really, you know, how to read a chart, how to read a Fair Isle chart, how to kind of put it all together. And I really enjoy this. For me, the most useful part are the Fair Isle, the charts that are in here. And I use this. Yeah, I use this. I've been really enjoying using this for these hot water bottles. But I think people will really appreciate them. I've had a great time doing it. Oops, I'm gonna lose myself there. I've had a great time doing it, and I'm getting all my Christmas knitting out of the way. So that is fantastic. So that is that. I'm gonna put that down here on the floor. And then the third finished, or no, the third finished, it's not finished yet, works in progress that I have, work in progress, is Emma Barnaby's next sock, which is the Emma Woodhouse sock. So this sock has a lace pattern, and I, again, am using it in, this is what this yarn is. It's the Lang Jawwal Magic. So this, I have several balls of this. This ball of yarn that I chose is this crazy colors. I love the neon colors. And here is the start of the sock. Here. So you can see it has this lovely pattern on it. It has a little mock cable on both sides, and then this beautiful pattern in the middle. Now I'm doing, Emma's pattern is top down. I am doing this pattern toe up, as you can see. So I was experimenting with this. This was just a little bit interesting for me as I tried to do these little experiments. But as I was experimenting, and so if the based on the chart, going top down, this patterning would be reversed. So what I thought I would do is try that and reverse. I just turned the pattern upside down, the chart upside down, and tried to do it that way. It didn't work as well, and I'm not quite sure why, but some of it has to do with the yarn. Like I said, this yarn is single ply, and it just wasn't, the decreases and increases weren't coming out right. So I just decided, well, I'm just going to stop it. I ripped it back. I decided to just go with the chart. So when my socks are done, the V will be opposite from other folks that have done them top down. It probably would have been fine in another type of sock yarn, but this is not plump. This is really pretty thin. It is not that stretchy, really. It's not really that stretchy, and it is not plump. So it lies flatter. So it's probably not the perfect yarn for doing this type of a pattern, but it's okay because I'm just doing them, you know, as I said, as a test knit, and I'll be perfectly happy wearing these. Not a problem. But I think for the actual look of the pattern, it would be better in a plumper and a 2-ply, probably a 2-ply fingering weight would be better than this. But this is perfectly fine for me, and this just certainly serves the pattern for serves the purpose for Emma, because I'm knitting from the chart. It doesn't really matter which way you're knitting from the chart. So the fact that I'm knitting from the chart is really the important thing, and I have not found any issues with this yet, and it will look perfectly fine. That is not, again, it's not an issue. But I can also see don't always in here, this is the truth. The truth of the matter. I didn't always pay attention to what I was doing, because I started it wasn't going right. I ripped it back to after the toe, and then when I started doing it, I was not doing the decrease correctly. You can see that this looks different than the rest. I don't know if you can see that. I wasn't doing the right thing on that. And I realized that once I got down to here and was looking at it, I'm like, wait a minute, what am I not doing right? And some of it is a slip knit, and which is fine. So it's an SSK, and you see that slip. That means slip knit. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do that, and there's some ways to really kind of tighten up a slip knit on the next row. And so I Googled some of that, and there was a great tutorial, and I think it was actually on Coop Knits, and they were just talking about how if you're having trouble with your slip knits or SSKs lying correctly, then you can, when you come to them on the next row, to knit that through the back loop, and that tightens everything up. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna try that. Now I think I was doing something else wrong here anyway, but I've been doing that on the following pattern repeats, and that seems to work really well, and I'm going to remember that, because I think because sometimes you will, when you're doing, on one side you're doing a knit 2 together, on the other you're doing an SSK, and they can look a little bit different depending upon how you're tensioning your yarn. And so that little tip was really good, to do it from through the back loop. So I really was, and I really thought that was a great one. And the other thing that I did, and again, it's real life, I realized that there's a series of mock cables on each side, bordering the main in the middle. And yeah, when I ripped back and started going again, I was forgetting to do, I did the little purl, but I forgot to do the mock cable stitch. So, but again, it's just knitting. And this is going to be inside my sock, and there was no one outside of a knitter who would ever look at this and even know that there was any mistakes going on. But that's the joy of that's really the joy of knitting. I sit with myself, and I can say, oh, what did I do? And then I can share it with Sophia, and she'll go, yeah, I don't know what you're doing there, Mom. But yeah, I'm super happy with this, and it's going to transition now into some crazy greens and pinks, so that will be different. And so I'm sure by the time I get to the middle of this ball, the second sock will not start at the same place, so it will look very, very different. So that will be interesting when I get there. But again, so this is, I don't even know, 4th sock by Emma. But like I said, I'm really enjoying this, and yeah, this pair is, once I got going and made the decisions on it, it's really flying right along. And I think these will, again, there'll be a fun pop of color in the fall when I go into work with my work pants and work shoes. So excellent. So that's that. So I think, is that it? I think that's the only 3 projects that I'm working on right now. As I said, I don't have any. I didn't do any more spinning than I had done the last time. So all right. So now I think we'll move on to just some different techniques and tips. So let's talk about some techniques, tips, ideas that I wanted to share with you today. The first one is, I just want to thank everybody for all of their nice comments on the Faye cowl. So the Faye cowl is by Emma Barnaby. I'm doing all of her patterns, but Emma designed this beautiful cowl pattern, and it is kind of a 2-layer cowl pattern. So here it is. I'm going to show it again. here. And the inside is also 2 colors, but it's a different patterning. And you basically knit a big tube, and then you turn this inside out, and then you do attach them together at the bottom. I think I did a 3-needle bind off, which is perfectly fine on the bottom of this. So this is nice and thick and warm. It will stand up on my neck, and it really, it just looks so elegant here. And I just think I just really love it. I love the color choices that I put together, and I appreciate everyone's kind words about this. Now, I've had a lot of questions asking me what yarn this is that I used on the, as a contrast color on the design. And unfortunately, I do not have the ball band. It was in my stash, and I had a lot of this gray, because it's a cone from Jamieson & Smith that I actually got from the Woolly Thistle. And then I had this beautiful skein of yarn, and I believe that this was, again, it was one of those single ply indie dyed yarns that I think I actually had gotten in a swap package, and it was just beautiful, and I hadn't used it, and I decided to just kind of pull it out. Emma designed this as a 2-color cowl, so hers is I think gray and blue, and I just was like, you know what, I'm just going to use this skein because it's a beautiful variegated skein of yarn, and so the colors will change as the yarn changes, so I won't have to, I'm not going to do, I'm not going to put more color into it. I thought it would have a lot of interest rather than just being a plain 2 plain colors. Not that 2 plain colors are great. I think they, her versions and other folks' versions look great as well, but I just wanted to I'm like, I'm just going to use this and see where it goes. I don't have the name of this yarn, but what I thought I would do here, this is it. So this is the remainder of this. So I just thought I would talk a little bit about kind of my thinking behind this. As I said, I had the gray, and here it is here. This is the remainder of a cone of Jamieson & Smith from the Woolly Thistle. There's a huge amount on this. I don't even know, there was enough to do a sweater, and plus the cowl. I still have this amount left. And I really love these. Are really they're just really great value for your money. And I know that Kern puts them on sale every now and again, but they're just great to kind of have in your stash, so you could pull it out if you want to do a sweater or do something, or a hat or whatever. So I had this, so I knew I wanted this as the background, and so I was just trying to figure out, just look at my stash and see what I had. So I decided that these 2 would go together. Now this gray is light enough, and this is dark enough that it has a lot of contrast to it. However, there's also light and dark places within this yarn, so I knew that there would be some type of a color flow to it, which is what you can see. So the color just kind of flows, flows along, and there's not one like block place where it's the same color at all. It just kind of meanders around, and then obviously you can see it on the inside, as well. But my suggestion to everyone is find a yarn that you really think is beautiful, that's variegated, and you could do this with anything. Now, I just pulled out some things from my bag of scraps that are left over, and just with this, with this gray yarn, I have a lighter purple left over. That would look really beautiful. It would look very different than the one I have, but it would be beautiful. I have this left over. I don't have enough of this, but something like this would be really, really, really stunning, I think. This is almost a jewel toned, kind of more burgundy. Maybe it looks orange to me, but in real life it's just as beautiful tones of burgundy and red, and deeper red and lighter reds. It never gets to a pink, but it's just beautifully tonal, and that would work perfectly well with this as well, because it would be a beautiful contrast, and it would work perfectly in this pattern. I have a You know, I have a lighter brown. This would also be the same type of thing. It's a beautiful variegated yarn that would just, the colors would just kind of flow, you know, flow from it. And then some of the others I would pick, they wouldn't necessarily like this. This is really beautiful. It wouldn't necessarily go with the gray, but I would pair this with a black. And if I paired this with a black or a super deep blue, all of the purples and the pinks and the light blues and the cornflower blue would really pop with that. And do the same thing. The color would just kind of flow. I have a different, this is more greens, and this would, you know, this one if you put next to a really beautiful deep sand, more of a sand color than a gray color, it would just be gorgeous. It would just be gorgeous. This would not work as well for me because this yarn, although it's gorgeous, it's got lots of speckles in it, so it has like these little, you know, drops of color, which are beautiful, but I wouldn't necessarily use a speckled yarn in something like this. So I wish I had the name of that yarn, but really all you need to do is find, you know, just, and it was just a single skein, so I had 400 yards. So it's not like you need to invest a lot in something like that. If you wanted to do a pattern like this, you could really do any color work like that using a variegated yarn. I mean, you could do some all over, you know, Farrell hat with it. It would really look beautiful. You could do, you know, you could do a simple yoke pattern in the same, you know, the same thing. I have done that before with hand spun, because a lot of times a hand spun will have, you know, just has lovely different color changes, and rather than using separate colors for the yoke, I have just gone ahead and used the hand spun because I know that the color changes will be there, and it will just make, you know, for really interesting viewing. So I would just say, if you're interested in doing something like this, just find a color that you love, that just really reaches out to you, and you know, it's something that looks good on you, whatever that may be, and then just pair it with a background color that's at the right contrast. The gray and this purple are good. Like I said, there's some that I would probably do maybe with a deep blue or do with a brown instead of a gray. But really, you can, you know, there's no knitting police, so you don't need to do any of these patterns with a solid color. You can always do something like this, and we all know that we all have these beautiful single skeins that we purchase, whether it's at a yarn store or at a sale, or you get it in a swap, or you know, whatever. You just have it in the bottom of your, you know, the bottom of your stash bin, and you just haven't used it, and you don't want to use it for socks. So something like this is really just phenomenal, especially if you want to, you know, you want to experiment with using the technique, the Farrell technique, and just have something different that's super gorgeous when you're done with it. So feel free to just, you know, pick the colors that you like and try it. This just happened to work really well together, but there's so many others, and there's just so many independent dyers out there that do beautiful tonal and variegated yarns that this type of technique would work perfectly for. Not so much speckled, but I would definitely say any variegated yarn would really be beautiful. So that's I wish I had the exact name of that, but really go out and choose your own, and it will be a beautiful project that you'll have for years, and you will get compliments on all the time. I'm sure I will be when I wear this in the fall. My second, and I just wanted to, again, I wanted to show you that this is an example. This is some old hand spun that I had done, and I had actually just crocheted this, so you can see that it's not striped. This is all just the single skein of the hand spun that I did, and I just, you know, I just made a simple cowl out of this. But you can see how all the colors just change as you go along. You don't have to think about doing anything. And this, so you can see if you have hand spun, and you know, for something like this, you need to be, for the cowl, you need to be spinning it pretty thin. But again, you can just see how that color just kind of flows along in a project without you having really to do anything besides knit or crochet the yarn. So Alrighty, so then the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I had said I was starting to do this the last time, which is kind of, I'm having kind of fun with this. I have an old sweater, not old sweater, it's probably, I probably knit it probably 3 or 4 years ago now, and I thought I would like it when I knit it, and I ended up not liking it. I didn't like the construction on it. I mean, the construction was fine. I just didn't feel it looked very well, very good on me. And so I think I wore it once, maybe twice, and put it in a drawer. And I was going through my drawers last month at some point, and I was kind of just tossing some stuff that was old. I usually go through and I will cull my sock drawer because I have so many socks. And sometimes, you know, your sock just gets too thin on the bottom, and I am not one to repair socks because I have so many of them. And if it's, you know, given me years of good service, you know, I appreciate that and salute the service, and we'll move on to some other ones. So I was going through some of my old sweaters and kind of looking and seeing what I liked and what I didn't like and what I was wearing and what I wasn't wearing. And I found this one sweater, and as I said, I literally had worn it once or twice. I didn't like the way it looked on me. So I was like, I was just going to get rid of it. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is perfectly good yarn. I think it was just, I'm pretty sure it's just some Knit Picks wool of the Andes. And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to rip this out, and then I can use it for another sweater. I obviously know I have a sweater's quantity of yarn, so that's what I'm going to do. Of course, when you rip out a sweater, or rip out any of your work, the yarn is going to have all kinds of crinkles in it because it's been sitting in the stitch, so it doesn't come out nice and smooth the way that it went in. So you need to do something. Now, some people will just take that, rip it out, knit with it, and then just wash the garment. I think that would kind of bother me because I'd like to actually see more of what the actual fabric looks like. If you leave the crimp in, you know, the yarn product is going to look crimpy and crinkly until you wash it. So what I'm doing is taking it out and kind of doing some different things to it. So the first, I just pulled out a ball. I mean, I just pulled out enough and wound it into a ball. And then what I ended up doing with that is putting it on the Niddy Noddy and washing the yarn. So this is the yarn. This is just this really beautiful grayish blue color. And this came out perfectly fine. You know, I put it on the Niddy Noddy and then, you know, skeined it up, washed it, and a couple days later it's perfectly fine. It's like as if it's freshened right up, and it's all brand new. Now, I had said that I was doing this the last time I podcast, and one of the viewers, a lovely lady, had suggested to me that she said that she reclaims yarn all the time from sweaters, and that she actually just kind of steams it. So she uses the ironing board and wraps it around the ironing board, and then just steams it with the iron. And I was like, I'm going to try that. So I was like, so yesterday I actually did that. I had a second ball, a smaller ball, pulled out of the yarn, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try that. And so that's what I did. I just basically put it, again, I wrapped it around, and I'll put some pictures at the end. Hopefully I was doing it the right way, but it worked fine. Everybody can find their own way to do it. But I just kind of wrapped it around the ironing board, and then used the steam on it from the iron, and that seemed to work fine. It took all the crimp out of it, and it looks, you know, let me see if it looks, you know, it looks exactly the same in both skeins. Now, once I had done that, then I thought, well, let me try something else. So I ripped out more of it, and I wrapped it around the Niddy Noddy, and I tied it off, and I was like, you know what, what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to steam it really right on the Niddy Noddy. It was a good idea, but it didn't work that well. So it's still crinkly. You can really see the crinkles in this. Let's get the light here. Yeah. So this is still all crinkled up. So if I knit with this the way it is, it would be kind of bumpy. So this one I'll probably just throw it in the water and wash it later today, and then it will turn out to do. But so I still have some. I'm not ready to start this yet, so I will probably go back and I'll probably do the ironing board technique again, because that was really easy, and then you don't have to wait for your yarn to dry. I mean, it's perfectly fine, but you don't have to tell everyone, don't use the sink in the bathroom, I need it for 10 minutes while the yarn is soaking, or somebody goes into the bathroom and goes, whoa, what's that? But I thought that was a really interesting technique. I really appreciate that. Appreciate the tip on that, and it worked really well. And so now I have this crinkly, which I need to wash and get that taken care of. I still have the sleeves and the top of the sweater to pull out. And again, I won't start this until I finish the vanilla sweater, so I have a little time to go. And I have 2 skeins of yarn that I can start with right away if inspiration hits. But if anybody else has any tips on reclaiming yarn, this is really simple because this is super hardy yarn. I didn't have to be careful with this. It's not like it's a special cashmere yarn or a single ply yarn that I need to be really careful with. This is perfectly fine. The Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, it's really just a workhorse yarn for us here in the United States. It's not expensive, but it wears really well, and I like to use this for sweaters. Mostly, if I'm doing a plain sweater, really. And I'll use some special yarn if I'm doing a yoke with it to mix up. But I really like this yarn. I like the color of this yarn. So I'm looking forward to this. I know I had talked about doing one of, I think it's Andrea Mowry's new pattern. I might do that. I might have a couple of other options that I'm thinking about as well. But we'll see when I get there. Not quite ready with that yet. But those are some of my kind of tips, or the things that I've been thinking about over the last month or so when I'm doing my knitting or pulling out my knitting. All right, let's move on to some chatter. What's been happening? Well, I think you'll remember the last time I podcast, I was explaining how things at work are just really, really tough right now. We've lost a lot of staff, so they're really only 2 full-time, well, the director and myself are really the 2 full-time staff with experience in our office. We have another full-time person, but he's new to financial aid, and then we have a temp who's helping us, and then we have some consultants that are helping us as well. And thank goodness for the consultants, because they're really very knowledgeable in all aspects. So we have each person doing something different that we need to have covered during this time period. So it's been tough, and it still is tough. It will be tough all summer. I said at the beginning, this is the 4th of July holiday weekend, so I actually had taken Friday off previously. So I actually have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then we were also given Tuesday off, which is really, really nice. So I have an extra day, and I'm really trying to stay off of the computer. I probably will go on Tuesday and just kind of go through emails, so I'm not overwhelmed on Wednesday when I have to get back to it. But it's been very difficult. So I'm really trying to take care of myself. I'm trying to enjoy my knitting. I'm going to try to enjoy this weekend. Marblehead is great during the 4th of July holiday. It's really the biggest thing that happens here in town each year. So I live right next to Crocker Park, and Crocker Park is the music venue for the weekend. So we have music on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and to Monday on the 4th of July. So it's starting at noontime and then going until 10 o'clock at night. They have different bands and different venues all through the day. So that's really fun. I think there's a good band going tonight, so we'll probably walk up after dinner. Walk up. I mean, it's like right up the hill. It's right here. And then tomorrow will be fun as well. And then on Monday, which is the 4th of July, we will have fireworks in the harbor. So that's really great. And they do what's called a harbor illumination. And so they have flares set up all the way around the harbor. So if you own a house on the harbor, you have to agree to put a flare on the 4th of July. And the town puts them in, and then everybody lights the flares, and that's that once the flares start to get lit, that means the fireworks are coming. So that's usually around 9 o'clock at night on the 4th of July. So we'll have the harbor illumination, and then they play the Star Spangled Banner up here at Crocker Park, and then we'll have a fireworks display, which is really fun. It's just nice. It's nice to have. And I think the weather's going to be great tomorrow. So we've been really lucky. It's been super beautiful, sunny. If it's rained, it's been raining at night. We've had a few thunderstorms here and there, but I think tomorrow's going to be really beautiful. So that's really nice. We'll probably do some barbecuing here and have some hot dogs and burgers, the traditional American fare for the 4th of July, and just enjoy it. So I've really been looking forward to this weekend. I've been walking every morning. You see, I post pictures on Instagram on the days that I do walk. If it's nice, if it's a nice morning, I'll post some pictures of the harbor, because it's just a beautiful time of year to see the harbor. We had an outing at work, and we went on the duck boats. If you're not familiar with the duck boats, they are replica versions of World War II vehicles that were amphibious, so they could work on the land and then on the water as well. And they're really pretty funny. They're pretty basic, and what they do, and they're in most major cities here in the United States now, if they have access to the water. So what they do is they come and pick you up, and then you take a tour. It's all open, and you take a tour of Boston, and then they take you into the Charles River, and you not sail, but you drive around the Charles River for a while, and then come back up. And we did that. I think I had done that I probably want to say, like, it was a long time ago. It was probably 20 years ago. I don't know. Whenever Sophia was I think she was in 6th grade, and her 6th grade class, we did a day trip to Boston, and we went to the museum, and one of the things we did was go on the duck boats. So that was pretty fun with a group of 6th graders, as you can imagine. It was pretty fun with a group of adults as well. It was just silly, and everybody's under so much stress. It was just a really fun. It was a fun thing. It was a fun thing to do. So that was actually really nice. And then the other good thing that happened was that at Christmas time we had a Christmas party for the school at the Red Sox. Our school is located in the Fenway, so we're like 3 blocks from Fenway Stadium, Fenway Park, and so we had our institutional Christmas party there, which is really nice. It's the second time that they've done that. And you're up in the boxes, and they have a beautiful spread of food and drinks. It's really nice. I mean, it's in December, but it's really nice. And they had a giveaway. You could throw your name in, and the president chose 2 names for a pair of Red Sox tickets during the upcoming season. And I was one of the names that was pulled, so that was really fun. So I went to, I had to wait for a while to actually pick up the certificate, and then I got the certificate, and then I emailed the Red Sox, the contact there, to say, hey, I'm one of the winners. How do I go about getting the tickets for the games? And so I didn't hear, and I thought I would contact this person again, and I still didn't hear, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to contact them one more time, and then I'm not going to worry about it. I wasn't, whatever. I wasn't too fussed about it, but she came back and said, and apologized and said the email had just gotten lost in her email inbox, and that absolutely I would have the availability of tickets during the year. And because she had taken so long to get back to me, she was going to give me 2 games to go to. So that was a bargain. So I have 2 games. The first one we already had, and it was a couple of weeks ago, and Sophia and I went. It was great. We had stadium seats behind home base. It was really quite nice, and we actually had the end of a row, which is, as you know, in these parks or stadiums, having an end row seat is like beautiful, because then you can easily get up to go to the bathroom, get up to go get a drink or food. It was a lot of fun. It was a night game, and we just met up after work. Like I said, I just went over to the park. We met up after work, and I think we stayed I probably stayed about 5 into the 6th inning. Maybe it started to get pretty cold, so we decided to leave. But they won, so that was like super fun. And we have another game to go to, and that game is in a couple of weeks on a Sunday. I think it's the end of my vacation week, so it's a day game. So that'll be really fun. Day game in July. That'll be really. Hopefully the weather will be good, but that will be really nice too. So I've got two games to the Red Sox this year, which is really great. We have been doing some work here. Not really a lot of work, but we have it's not really a driveway or anything, but it's a parking space kind of in the front of our house. Parking is primo down here. There's not a lot of parking. There's not a lot of overnight parking. There's a lot of 2-hour parking, but not a lot of overnight parking. So we actually have this kind of a stone area right in the front of our house, and so that's where we park one of our cars. But I don't think the stone has been replaced probably 5 or 6 years. So we've been doing that, and I mean it's great. You can just you go buy bags of stone at at Home Depot or Lowe's, but there's a landscaping place just in the next town over in Salem, and you can buy crushed stone by the bucket, and it's super cheap. It's like $3 a bucket, and it's cheap because you have to shovel it into your buckets and you have to bring them home and put it down. But we've done that. I think we went one day and got 5 buckets, and then Mark went another day and got 2 or 3 more, and then we went yesterday or the day before and got our last 3. So we finally have all of the area has been restoned. It looks lovely. It's filled back up again. He was determined to have it looking nice for the 4th of July. So it's all set now, but that's really nice. And our back area here, we had a couple of, we have a little rock garden, and we had a friend of ours come in and put in these, he works at a landscaping store, so he came in and just made recommendations about what to put in, and we just said, yeah, you do it. You go and do it, bring the plants over, and so that's what he did. So we have butterfly bushes, and we just have these really beautiful plants, and it's nice because he did a mix. Some are, flowering in the spring, and then there are some that are flowering in the summer, and then some that kind of flower at the end or change color at the end in the fall. So it's really just a nice year-long mix, and he did that last year. They look great. There were 2 or 3 spots that we needed to fill in, and so Mark's father he does a beautiful job in the back of their house, and he has a lot of plants, and there are a couple of plants that I think he'd either gotten, like they're old and they had come from either from his mother's house in Milford, but they were old, and he's got a ton of them around. And so what we did is we cut off a couple of them, and we just basically cut them in half, and then we brought them back here and we planted them. So we have 3 new plants, right? And they're looking really good too. So I was very pleased with that. So that looks really nice. It's very calming to go out in the back and just sit for a while and look at all the plants. Mark takes care of watering them in the mornings, and no, they're really coming along nicely. I'm really pleased with that. And I've been spending on the weekends, and then on these couple of days, I've been spending some time. I'll take a little deck chair and go up here and sit and either knit or read and just watch the harbor and just look at the boats and just really enjoying, trying to enjoy what's around me, because I'm very lucky to live in a place that people would pay a lot of money to come here. So Sophie and I were talking last night, and I was like, I try to every now and again, I want to I'll sit out back or I'll go up and I'll think about the fact of what would be my mindset if I was renting an Airbnb here right now, rather than having a house where you have to do the dishes and you do the laundry and you do this, that, and the other thing. What if this was, what would my mindset be, or what would I think about if this was an Airbnb and I was just here for a few days? And it was interesting because it kind of like switches your mind. You're like, if this was an Airbnb, I'd be like sitting back going, this is great. I'm having such a great, great time, and I'm going to do this for dinner and that for dinner, and I don't have to worry about anything. So it was an interesting conversation we were having last night about that. Sophia is, we were also talking about how it's been a year since we went to Egypt. I cannot believe that it was a year. It was last July that we went to Egypt. That's so hard for me. It still feels like it was yesterday. But she and a friend of hers just made the final decision this weekend that they're going to take a trip to Iceland in March, I believe. I think in March? Yeah, I think in March. So they're going to take a trip. So of course she's all making all plans for that, looking at, I think they got some really super cheap flights. So I think that was kind of the incentive behind that. But she found a really great little boutique hotel. She's got all the places they're going to eat, like tours that they're gonna do. So I'm really happy that she's got that to look forward to. That'll be really, really, really nice. Yeah, and I think I feel like I'm in a, just in a mood-wise in a little better place than I was a month ago when I podcast. It was just really wearing on me, and I mean it's still wearing on me, but I'm really trying to make a concerted effort to leave work at work and just enjoy home and where I live and my crafting and enjoy reading. Really, just taking the time to do what I need to do so that I can be effective at work. It's all cyclical. It all works, and it will. This too will pass. It will change. A year from now, it will be in a different place, as probably most employers will be in this country. But yeah, I feel I feel much more relaxed this month. Things are getting done. We have a plan, and I can just sit back and enjoy my crafting and my knitting. But yeah, so let me know what's going on with you folks for the summer. I certainly enjoy coming here and talking with you, and as I said, I'm going to try to do this more often now because I really do enjoy it. It's very relaxing. So yeah, so I think that's it for now. Happy 4th of July if you're in the United States, and otherwise, take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Remember, it's just knitting. Bye.